What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode. I'm your host, Christian Fowler. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Coon. Gabe, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Yeah, nothing much. I'm hanging in there. I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Had my birthday weekend, I guess. Even though
Thursday?
I don't do that. We talked about birthday week, birthday month. I don't want anything to do with people that claim their birthday month. Birthday
No.
week or weekend's fine. Had a nice little meal at Houston's this weekend. That
Yeah.
was nice. Couple
Just you,
of
just you and Taylor, or
libations.
friends?
No, we went with a couple friend. We went with
Gotcha.
a couple friend. So we had a double date. So we did that. And that's about it, man. That's about it. I watched UFC 301 in Brazil.
I did not.
I did. It was kind of lame, but
Yeah,
compared to 300, but I did do that. But I do. Can I do something real quick for the entire platform off the top of the show? Because I think their first recording will be tomorrow, and we're obviously recording this on Monday, so they'd record on Tuesday. And Kenny could tell us if they drop on Wednesday. But I have to give a warm welcome to the Night Court podcast.
Yep.
Joining Bluff City Media's network with two absolute fucking goats in Brevin Knight and Rob Fisher from Valley Sports, man. That is an awesome get. Awesome get. Well done by Bluff City Media getting that deal done, and well done to those guys. They've been doing that for 84 episodes. 85 is going to be on Bluff City Media. They've been waiting to get on a platform like this.
Yeah, I wish Kenny had a little round of applause thing. I was going to start.
I swear, that's well done, man. The platform is growing. The people are enjoying the platform. I'm happy for those guys as well.
Yeah, big get, and I think it'll be great, obviously, for Bluff City Media and for everybody else to know that they have, an actual avenue now, an actual platform. I know that's a big thing in this podcasting day and age. So shout out to them for jumping on board, and should be starting, like you said, within the next couple of days. They will be live. So excited for that. I had something else too. I forgot.
What did you do this weekend? That's what I want to know.
Hey, there we go. There we go. There we go. Friday, just dinner and chilled. Nothing crazy Friday. Saturday, I know what I did this weekend, but every time you ask me, I completely forget. So, Saturday,
we had this whole conversation today on the phone, Christian. You told me everything.
I've already told Kenny what I did.
So, Kenny, can you tell him? Can you tell us what he did?
You're going to be stunned by this, but there was a ton of crawfish involved.
Oh God, I'm floored.
Just floored.
No chance.
Crawfish was involved.
Crawfish boil on Saturday, and then we ended up in Tunica on Saturday night.
Where you didn't bet and you were just being a good friend.
I bet.
Oh, you got what? What?
Yeah,
dude.
What'd you bet on?
Come on. Changed.
I just played slots. All the tables were slammed. All the tables were slammed. We were going to play blackjack, but it just wasn't worth it. So just wasted money on slots pretty much. But I do have easily the craziest casino story that I've ever seen happen. So one of my buddies, his name is Sam. He tends to get a little crazy with the bets when we go to the casino.
Okay.
So I'm not joking at all. Within an hour of being there, I saw him like 10 or because I think we had 12 or 13 people, so we kind of dispersed. Obviously, you can't stay with the full squad in the casino. So I see him probably 20 minutes after we get there, and he's like, "I'm down 200," and I was like, "Oh gosh." Then I see him like 20 or 30 minutes later, and he's like, "I'm down 500," and I was like, "Okay, well he's done for the night." And that was all slots, literally just pressing the button. All slots down 500. I see him about an hour later. Me and Michael are on the slots. Anna Ruth and Kaylee, which is Michael's wife, they're with us. And he comes back up and he's like, "Minor setback for a major comeback." And he's got a ticket and it's like $212. So now he's down, a little less than 300. And I'm not joking. This is how fast this happened. So he shows us his tickets, $212. Comes back 10 minutes later, $375. He's like, "Boys, I'm getting close." And we're like, "What is he doing?" Comes back again, $480. He's like, "Boys, the break even's coming." Comes back again, $575. He's like, "I'm up."
Broke even. All right.
Comes back again, $750. He's like, "All right, now I'm up." Comes back the last time, $912 ticket. He went from minus 500 to plus 400.
Oh, that ain't crazy at all.
Within an hour. And all he was doing is him and one of our other buddies, they were literally just walking around and they go, "That one." And they would probably max 5 spins and they hit every single one.
That's lucky as hell.
Yes, it's the luckiest and craziest thing I've ever seen in a casino. They would go about 5 spins, and he would hit 60 to 150 every.
I thought you were going to tell me he's like playing, roulette and doing black or red and just betting like $300 a go.
It was
like
all
yeah. I mean, I'll say this, like having taken like a bunch of casino trips with my buddies for bachelor parties and shit. Yeah, it's fun to see your boys like win and smile, you know, and like be happy. But there's nothing funnier to me than the one guy that just always loses a shit ton of money, and you see them and they're walking back depressed. Like, I'm down $1,000. It's like, well, you knew you were gonna eat what you're getting yourself into, buddy.
Right.
And you just overdo it every time. There's always the buddy who cannot step away when they're up. They cannot do it. They just feel like, oh, I have house money. Even though I hate that term because there's no such thing as house money. It's your money.
It's yours at that point.
Yes. It's just, but yeah, I mean, that's decent. He went from down 500 to up 4.
Yep. All slots. That's to me the crazy part. Like you said, if he was roulette or blackjack and playing like bigger hands, okay, that makes sense to jump up that quickly. But it was 100% all slots, and we were only there for 2 hours. So he had a $900 swing in 2 hours.
There's this guy on Instagram. I'm going to try to find his name real quick. Hopefully I can. But this guy, his name's Tim Nacky. Tim.Nacky. I guess it's Tim Myers on socials. But for every follower he has, he'll play one hand. Like he'll do it every week. He'll play one hand of blackjack for 10 cents for every follower he has. So I think his most recent bet was, let's see here. He ended up betting, he's at 1.2 million followers. I'm not even going to do that math. But that's a shit ton of money he's betting every week by the end of it. Yeah. On one, he'll do one blackjack hand. I'm like, these guys are nuts. They're out of their minds.
I don't got that in me.
Hell no. Like, even when I like sports bet, I'm not putting, like, it's rare as hell for me to even throw 50 on
the most I have ever bet was on UFC 300. I put 150 on Alex Pereira. That is the most money I've ever bet in like one single bet.
Money well spent.
Yeah, yes, it was.
Stop while you're up. There you go. Yeah. Well done.
So yeah, that was Saturday. We crawfish and then casino, and then Sunday we had a Cinco de Mayo party at Michael's parents' house, so everybody was over there for that. And then me and Anna Ruth had a concert in Oxford last night. Charles Wesley Godwin. If you haven't heard him, check it out. He's awesome.
I'm telling you, Kenny, this guy's becoming an Oxford guy.
Listen, he's gonna start wearing Oxford shoes. And
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know.
He already wears the tight shorts. He's gonna have to.
We're switching over here. We're switching over here little by little. I don't know if boat shoes are still in, but he might be wearing boat shoes soon anyway.
Even if they are in, brother, I'm not jumping on that venture. I'm not going back to the Sperry's.
You know what I'm ready for, man? The weather's turning. I'm ready to get out on a lake somewhere. Out on a boat, on a pontoon somewhere on a lake. That's the mood. That's the mood I've been in since I got back from Curacao. Just want to be on the lake.
Yeah.
I don't even care what lake. Just put me on a lake.
You just got back from the most epic beach vacation ever, and now you're talking about the lake. Get out. I want to go to it. Just give me a bathtub with water in it, and I'm fine.
But I can tell you, Kenny, you're a big guy like me. We don't fit in all bathtubs, buddy. I'll tell you what.
Very true.
You know, what was the president who got stuck in the bathtub? Was that William Taft? That's
Correct.
Us. Yeah, wow. That's us.
That's me and you. There's a
beach. They had to get some Crisco, get him up out of there. They had to pull him up out.
Somebody get the Crisco.
All right, we got some Tigers to talk about. We want to switch this subject.
Yeah, we got a little bit. Let's start with the most recent commitment to the Memphis basketball program, and that is SMU transfer Tyreek Smith. Another AAC transfer, I believe I've heard it called from you, and I think John Martin as well, the AAC All-Stars. Yep. So that trend continues with Tyreek Smith. I know this has kind of become what I've said with the majority of these commitments, but this is another one that's solid, but it's not really a needle mover. And as an individual piece. And once again, you can go back through and say, okay, maybe Tyreek Smith is not a needle mover by himself. Maybe Colby Rogers is not a needle mover by himself. But maybe you package these guys together and maybe they collectively move the needle together. But regardless, I think he's a solid player. 8 points, 5 rebounds, nearly 2 blocks per game. I think he was top 15 in the country in blocks per game last year at SMU. So he has that upside as far as rim protection, blocking shots. But it's not going to be a heavy scorer guy, and I don't think Memphis is necessarily looking for a guy that's going to score 15 to 20 in the front court. So I think it's a solid addition, but once again, these solid additions aren't going to get the fan base necessarily super hyped up. But it's kind of nice, honestly, to see Penny not doing that, to see him not going and getting the flashiest, biggest names who may or may not pan out, and rather going and just getting solid players that will likely know and understand their role and play well in that role. Like Tyreek Smith's role is to score around the rim, to get rebounds and block shots. And that's the extent of it. He's not going to be asked to do anything outside of that. And so if you get these guys that aren't necessarily the highest rated or the biggest names, and they do their jobs and they buy in, and you build around PJ Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter and some of these other guys, I'm good with that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, listen, here's the thing about that 8 points per game, around 6 rebounds per game, about 2 blocks per game. He did that 19 minutes per game. This guy is, when he's on the floor, he's an absolute energizer bunny. Like, he is up and down the floor. He's a good rim runner. He can finish around the rim. He'll block your shot. They need a rim protector in a big way. Right. I know he's not the biggest of stature, but he plays like the biggest of stature. And the thing is, like, you're not looking for a whole bunch of starters. Yeah, you could go find a starting big. I don't know if there's a bunch of guys of that caliber left in the transfer portal. I guess Musa Cisse, but I don't even know then. But you need guys who are going to play a role for you off the bench. And what did Tyreek Smith do for you? Or do for SMU? He played off the bench. He started 13 games. He came off the bench for 20, and he was still super productive. And it's just kind of funny. You talk about the mixed messages from the fan base, and like, I get it. Like, some people are like, "Oh, great addition." Some people are like, I don't care about this one. Who gives a damn? They should be aiming higher. And what I'd say to those people is, did you watch last year? Like, did we not learn a damn thing from last year?
Are there no lessons from last year?
Exactly. Like, they went and got every shiny object that had all the stats in the world. That they were all starters at their previous stops, and it didn't mesh well. They didn't have good team chemistry. Penny and Rick were struggling on who to put on the floor at times. You had weird rotational issues. I mean, find guys that play roles for you. I think Tyreek Smith, I'm like high on it because I think it's an escape from last year's blunder on the transfer portal. When you just got all these shiny objects. This is the opposite of a shiny object. He's probably not even a top 250 recruit at a lot of these 247 on 3 transfer portal rankings. But if he fits, which he does, to be clear, if he fits, it's all perfect. It's all fine for me. You need to find role players. You had to fill how many spots going into this offseason? 9, 10?
Yeah.
Not all of them are going to be freaking PJ Haggerty. Not all of them are going to be Tyrese Hunter.
And
it's
you don't
fine.
want it to be.
Exactly. Like, it's fine. And you're going to have 4 more scholarships to work with if David Jones comes back. And you could fill out the roster well that way. And I'll say this. Looking around the rest of the AAC, even if they don't get David Jones back, they're doing better work than everybody in this damn conference. Now, what does that equal? Like an 8, 9, 10 seed, getting into the tournament, running through this league and maybe not getting to the second weekend or whatever. It's still probably a tournament team based on what you're dealing with in conference. I just think the out-of-conference portion of the schedule would be tough if this is sort of what we're dealing with without David Jones.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, like you said, what do people want? A bunch of PJ Haggertys. I mean, what does 3, 4, 5, 20-point per game scores look like? Man, not good. It doesn't go well. I can assure you that. There's just not enough to go around. So you get one marquee scorer, maximum 2 guys that can score, 15 to 20 points on average per game, and you get a bunch of other guys that can score 6 to 12.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. And fill their roles as if that's a rebounder, if that's a shot blocker, if that's a catch and shoot guy, if that's a screen and roll guy, like whatever roles you need filled, if you have your star players and you get guys that are good in those roles, then you're going to be a good team. And they don't have to be the biggest names or the flashiest players or guys that have the highest transfer portal rankings like you're talking about. You just need guys that understand what you need them to do. They come in, they fill a role, and they execute that. And that's it. And I think this also, getting guys without the quote-unquote big names, it takes some at least of that ego out of the locker room. Because yes, everybody has an ego. There's not a, collegiate professional athlete that doesn't have at least somewhat of an ego, but they get bigger as the name gets bigger, as the NIL valuation now gets bigger, as the stats grow, those egos become bigger in the majority of cases. So if you're getting guys that are used to coming off the bench, are used to playing, 15, 20 minutes per game, are used to occupying a specific role rather than being the star, then you get guys that are tailor-made to fit a system and come in knowing the expectation. Tyreek Smith is not expecting to play 35 minutes a game and score 20 points. That is not what he is expecting. I guarantee you that's not what Penny and the staff promised him. And that, to me, like I said, I know to you as well, that's a welcome shift to me. And we always talk about Penny learning and adapting and how is he going to change things after they fail. And to me, this is a really great sign that it's not the same thing as last year. He is not repeating the cycle. He's going in. He's, from at least what it seems like, he's handpicking guys that he wants in his system, which we talked about ad nauseum towards the tail end of last year and also into the offseason. So to me, it's a welcome shift. It's a welcome change. It might not make the most headlines, but it could make this and should make this a much more effective team come this fall.
Can I
now
add
here's
something?
the interest.
Can I add something to this real quick?
Yeah,
I think Tiger fans need to wrap their minds around the fact that Dane Danger is going to be the starting five for this team in the fall. He will be the starting five. And whether you like it or you don't, he will be. Penny Hardaway and Rick Stansbury are not out looking for a starting big right now. They're looking to fill those complementary pieces like a Tyreek Smith does. The second part to that is, I would say they are fully expecting, wishfully, may it be, or with some insider intel that they, in conversations they've had, they are building this team around a backcourt of Tyrese Hunter, PJ Haggerty, and David Jones. That's what they're expecting to do. They are expecting to have David Jones back next year.
That's where I was going with this too. Like David Jones, that's the next big question.
And so I think that if you've got those three guys with quality bigs and a guy like Dane Danger, a guy like Tyreek Smith, who, I'll be honest with you, I saw him live. I saw him against when SMU beat Memphis in that.
He had 4 steals.
Man, let me tell you, I was telling Christian this earlier today. He was one of the most, he stood out to me on the floor. Was he a high producing guy? Did he stand out to me because he was doing all these crazy things? Physically, he stood out to me, number one. Number two, energy stood out to me on the floor. And just everything he was doing stood out to me on the floor. Is he a high production guy? Is he a high usage guy? I don't think he is, but he also played for a team that was very bad on offense, but also very good on defense in SMU.
Right.
And so you're talking about a guy who, coming off the bench, filling that role, is a guy who is absolutely going to be an imposing presence, I think, for the Memphis Tigers.
He's useful. And here's the thing, you talk about production, Kenny, and I get it. He didn't have if you just look at his stats, bare value, just look at him at their, surface level. You're like, oh, he's not that productive. When you look at him in the context of 19 minutes per game off the bench, 8 points and 6 rebounds in 19 minutes off the bench is pretty freaking good
with multiple blocks.
They didn't have a guy like that last year. They just didn't. And to have
we were happy if we got that out of Jordan Brown in 30 minutes, right?
Exactly. So they have this type of guy that you can poo-poo the production on surface level, but you're not telling the whole story if you do that.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. Now, building it around David Jones, I still think's a little bit. I think that's overblown, because I think even if they didn't have David Jones, they wouldn't be some second weekend team, but I still think they could be a tournament team. But what does that look like? Like I mentioned, a 10 seed, probably no second weekend availability. Now, David Jones, the update on him is that he has been invited to the NBA Combine, and I'm happy for him. But that is, I would say, when he didn't get in the transfer portal and it was just NBA or Memphis, those were the two choices. I was like, I felt good about the track that we were on to get David Jones back to the University of Memphis campus. Seeing he's invited to the Combine definitely throws a little bit of a wrench into that, just because it shows you very, very clearly he is one of the guys
he's on the
behind
radar.
the scenes from the NBA scouts that they want to see. Like, he is handpicked by these scouts, by these front offices as, hey, we want to see how he tests. We want to see how he looks in front of this type of competition. And if he does well, that could throw some wrenches into the plans of the Tigers going into this season. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm not going to get too concerned yet because obviously we don't know. But
he hasn't even talked to any of these guys yet. He hasn't tested.
But secondly, like, we got to give credit where credit's due. Penny has shown that he can pivot quickly.
Yeah.
Even in times where it seems like, where do you go next, or how do you fill this void, or how do you fill this role? He's shown that he can pivot quickly. And so even if that is a hole, and it may not be another 20-point per game score or someone as effective offensively as David Jones is, but there's obviously still quality players out there that can fill that void that Penny would be making calls to, and we would be foolish to say that he couldn't get someone to fill that role, albeit maybe not to the extent that David Jones can, with the familiarity in the system and just the overall talent. But he's shown he can pivot. He's shown he can fill holes that, we didn't even know were coming. So would I be surprised if he already had some kind of backup plan sitting on the back burner in case this happens? No, I wouldn't, because that's just kind of how he's done it throughout his tenure.
So holler at me about, and I know we've had some conversations about this in the past, David Jones, the NBA prospect.
Yeah.
I want to talk through this because this is pretty massive. And like, these conversations are going to make or break. And obviously we're not the ones having the conversation. It's the NBA scouts and the NBA coaches in the front offices. But those conversations about him as an NBA prospect are going to ultimately sway his decision. And, I'll give you my thoughts first. I don't necessarily think he's a great fit right now for the NBA. And the reason I say that is he's got to be better on the defensive end, because he's going to be either late second round or an undrafted free agent, and he's got to work his ass off on that end to really find his way. We saw a guy in Lester Quinones who did not score a lot at the college level find his way, make his mark with the Golden State Warriors by sitting down and defending first and foremost. Like, that is how you have to do it when you're not, coming from a preferential spot in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
And then also, I just, I have real questions about his offensive game, in the fact of, I think a lot of his offensive game this year was predicated upon, for most of the year, he shot 40% from three. That's why the numbers were so jacked up. At the NBA level, with the new NBA line, can he keep those numbers up? And I think they'll get a look at that at the NBA Combine when he's actually shooting from that line. But I don't know, man. I still have real questions about him getting the ultimate answer he wants when he gets in front of these scouts. I just don't know if it'll be there. We'll see. I'm rooting for him because I want to see him go off to the next level and be successful. But I have my hesitation, my skepticism, I should say, about what he's actually going to hear from these NBA scouts.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'll kind of go from the flip side of it and kind of from his perspective on it potentially is, and we've talked about this, we made this point several months ago, but like, is his ceiling really going to be that much higher than it is right now, regardless of what he does? Like, he's just getting older, and he knows that, and the NBA scouts know that, and he proved last year that he can score at a high level. Now, how much does that translate, with the three-point shooting ability, with just the overall him not being the centerpiece of an offense? How much does his scoring translate? Obviously, that's something that they would have to determine, whoever chose to draft him or pick him up as a UDFA. But that's kind of the other side of it is, yes, he still has some development to do, especially on the defensive end of the floor, but he's not getting any younger, and it's going to be hard, even if he is better defensively, to boost his stock, because how much more of an offensive ceiling can he show in 1 year?
Right. So I will say this. I think this is the peak of his draftability in the NBA. And let's just operate on that assumption. It's also his peak, absolute peak of NIL earning power in college athletics with the Memphis basketball program. So if your peak is that low as an NBA prospect, you really need to weigh your options and be honest with yourself. Because if he came out next year and had a decent year, he could still probably be an undrafted free agent and go the G League route and see what happens. But you would be $750,000 poorer than you could have been coming back to Memphis. So
very fair point.
That's the thing that sort of still makes me lean to David Jones is likely going to be a Memphis Tiger unless he just, his stock would have to raise 25, 30 spots for me to change my opinion. And it'd have to happen through the NBA Combine and all these workouts he's going to attend.
Agree. All right, Gabe, are we ready to switch gears and talk about some football? We had some additions come up over the past couple of days. Former Oklahoma defensive end now, Reggie Grimes, is on board as a Tiger. Kind of an interesting story with him. He's, a 4-star prospect coming out, was decently productive 2 years ago, did not play this year. So that's number one. And then you get Chris Adams from Old Dominion, who's 6'6", has great size, great length, and will likely come in and compete for one of these tackle jobs, which is, as even if he's not a starter, the competition there, or being a swing tackle, or just position versatility, whatever it is, you can never have too many bodies on the offensive line, especially ones of that high of a quality. And he's a decently high 3-star transfer. So he's at least decently thought about as far as transfer goes. So 2 more additions. How are we feeling about these and their potential to help Memphis this year?
Reggie Grimes, I think, could be like a rotating body at an end position. You have to sort of replace that Jalen Allen production because you only have Cormonte Hamilton as a returner on one side. Then you're going to have to deal with William Whitlow on the other side, and he's been a reserve. You have to find another reserve to come in behind him and get that production flowing at that position so they don't have to play extended snaps. So I think he could be a help there. He's 6'4", 274. He can play against the run okay. He had 4.5 sacks in 2022. I'm worried. I'm sort of confused about last year. Really wasn't involved in their plan at all, like even remotely. No. Now, Chris Adams, I want people to be as excited as you can get over an offensive tackle prospect in the transfer portal. Get excited about Chris Adams. 6'6", 286 to 295 is sort of what he's played at. He's going to be a junior, so he's going to have a couple of years of eligibility. He's got really tremendous feet, really talented. He can road grade some people in the run game. He can pass protect really well. Started 9 games at left tackle for Old Dominion. The other ones were at right tackle. I mean, and he was committed to Washington not but a week ago, and I don't know what happened with all that, but Washington is a damn good place to land in the Power 5. They were just in the Natty, and he ends up decommitting and going to the University of Memphis. And I really like him, man. I think the upside's great, and I think he's going to help pretty tremendously year one. This should be a guy that could be plug and play. We've seen a few guys from Old Dominion at this point. Is becoming sort of Memphis's JUCO, I guess, kind of in a way. And I hate trying to hate on Old Dominion folks, but I think they'd kind of agree that we keep poaching some Old Dominion, some good Old Dominion players. But we've seen that Blake Watson was an immediate starter. We see Taj Rael coming in, and he's getting a lot of run in that secondary, and he's run off a few guys in that secondary already. And now you have Chris Adams from the same place. I have no reason to believe that these guys from Old Dominion at this point, based on the sample size we have, I have no reason to believe that these guys can't just step in and show up and be counted on year one.
Yeah, and I really want to talk about kind of where you're at on Chris Adams and with his offensive line, because we know they lost some pieces. Davion Carter now going to Texas Tech. McKylan Pounders now at Mississippi State. So you lose some really big pieces on this offensive line, and it goes from a strength to a question mark again after just 1 year. But a lot of credit to Ryan Silverfield and the offensive staff for what they've done as far as retooling and rebuilding this offensive line through the transfer portal, getting a lot of really quality, talented guys that can compete. And that's the thing on the offensive line. I think that's more important than almost anything is just having quality competition up front, guys pushing each other and saying, we're going to put our best 5 on the field. It doesn't matter where you played at your last stop. It doesn't even necessarily matter where you played here. We're going to get the best 5 out there. So you could have been a left tackle at your last stop, but hey, if we got a better one and you're number 2, you're going to play right tackle. So having that competition, having the level of guys that they've brought in the transfer portal with some of the returning guys as well, kind of took this position group from a question mark, which I think it still is in a sense because they're transfer, so you don't 100% know. But they softened the blow with who they've added, and it could be a really big potential strength for them this year once again.
And I want to, sort of caution people about just even the spring portal window and guys committing to the University of Memphis. Right now, based on what they have still on the roster, these are either depth or luxury pieces. I think Chris Adams would sort of fit that luxury mold potentially because it feels like you have guys that can be very good, productive tackles already. He could join that fray, and we'll see what happens. Reggie Grimes, definitely a depth guy because his production had been that good past couple of years. But I want to caution people, like, don't pay too much attention to the guys coming in. And the reason I say that is because they didn't really have a lot of guys leave. You know what I mean? Like, the continuity is still there. They don't have to add a bunch of guys. You shouldn't be waiting on a whim for a bunch of commitments to the Memphis football team right now, because I think the biggest loss they had in the portal would be Jara Anderson. I think you sort of agree with me there, but he ended up at Arizona with Brent Brennan, and that team should be good next year. He was just a guy you probably couldn't afford to keep. You know, like somebody outbid you for that. It happens sometimes, but I still think they have a lot of guys up there that have shown ability at the D tackle position. Keviante Spears was productive last year. PJ Lucas as a nose tackle, I'm hearing really good things about him. Transfer from Indiana, run stuffer, two-gapper type guy. So, as much as like people want to see, big names rolling in the transfer portal, don't worry about that, because I think the continuity, keeping all these guys on the roster, the retention from last year's team is already good enough, quite frankly.
Yeah, completely agree. So I'm excited. I know we still got a lot of time. I think we were talking about the other day what it's like. It's May now, so we got 4 more months. Yeah, 4 more months until
too long, dude. Way too long.
But at the same time, it's like you kind of need that time to, relax, settle down, get some of that stress out.
Just watch the showboats. Right. Just watch the showboats. Am I right?
Oh, right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go.
Watch the showboats, baby.
People may not know, but we do have the #1 showboats fan and maybe the whole country on this show, and that's Kenny Stubblefield. And am I making that up? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not.
Yes, you are absolutely making that up.
Kenny takes away the steam from that one, but I'm still going to say it could be true. It could not be true. So nobody knows. But we are going to take a quick break. We're going to be back on the other side with the Hot 3. And who's going to present it but the biggest Memphis Showboats fan in the country, Kenny Stubblefield.
Local SEC celebrity Paul Feinbaum was in town today, made some comments to the local media regarding the University of Memphis football program. Basically came out flat out and said, one, he was wrong about Coach Silverfield. 2 years ago said that we needed to move a different direction. He wasn't the guy for the job. And after last season, he thinks that Silverfield is the guy. He also went on record and said that the ACC and the Big 12 are both essentially, this is verbatim, effing idiots for not inviting Memphis to either one of their conferences. He didn't literally say that. I had it a little bit in there. A little flavor.
No one knows the answer why Memphis didn't get the ad with Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU was the 4th,
What kind of held Memphis back was 1, money, and 2, lack of sort of on-field success and proving that they belonged. And he said now they have both of those.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
who would you bet is the center, the true center, quote unquote, for this team next year? Because that's really the only spot that I see that we could fill.
Yeah,
Well,
I think need to fill
needs. It's a need.
I would think your starting center's not on the roster at this point. And there are guys available, and I mean the same usual suspects keep coming up. It'll be interesting to see which route they go with the center position. Are you looking for a Steven Adams type, or are you looking for a guy that can maybe step outside a little bit more? Or, but if you're doing that, you already have Jaron. So what's the point? Exactly. To get the same type of player. So
tune in to The Daily Grind with Mark King and Lute Hatmaker at 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday, live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. What up, boys? Listen, I just need y'all to know, I thought Christian was gone. The entire break, his camera was off. I was like, Gabe, is he coming back? What's going on?
Turned my camera off.
I think he's got some Wi-Fi connection issues, man.
Me?
Just a tad bit, yeah, just a little bit. Nothing crazy.
No Wi-Fi connection issues.
Although I was watching through the commercial break, man. My man, we need to get TJ to turn on a light whenever he does. Good God, he's in the dark, and what is that?
I'm surprised Kenny didn't fix that.
I mean, he's got the blue lights in the background, his face is lit up, but he's in the dark. I'm kind of worried about him.
Yeah,
he's got babies at the house, man. He ain't trying to keep all the lights on. They're literally, his babies are right next door to him, so he's got to talk like this.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
He's got to talk super loud.
Anyway,
y'all ready to get to it, man?
Let's do it.
Of course.
It's going to be kind of a different hot three. This is going to be more of a there's certain things that have happened. We've already talked about NFL draft, we've talked about NBA playoffs, but we're going to talk about those two topics again, kind of at a different angle with it. And then we're going to also talk about the Tom Brady roast, which Christian has not seen because Christian has a life. Though. He has a life.
Have some sound? Am I to understand that we have sound or video?
We have some sound. We have some video that I want to play for y'all. But I had a chance to watch it this morning. I watched it. It felt like it was 10 hours long, but it was really only 3. But it was, Gabe, be honest, pretty phenomenal, right?
It was great. All right. And I'm surprised you found video that's suitable for our channel.
Barely was able to.
My God, there were some deep cuts, maybe, on that thing. Christian, I don't care if it's 3 hours. You got to go back and watch the whole thing cover to cover.
At some point, I'll get to it.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's get to the NBA playoffs. Topic number 1, NBA playoffs. Obviously, tonight, it is Monday night. We are filming. So when this comes out tomorrow, we're probably going to have missed a game. Right now, the Knicks and the Pacers are playing each other. East semifinals is at halftime, 55-49. The Pacers are up. What are some of the storylines coming out of this first round of basketball, first round of the playoffs? What are some of the major storylines that you guys have seen that have interested you, that have piqued your interest about this NBA playoffs?
Can I give you one first, Gabe? And you tell me if you know this, and then you get to the serious stuff. So I was on Instagram this past week, and I was watching some reels, and it was Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart's podcast. I think it's called The Roommates or something like that.
Yeah, because they were roommates in Villanova.
Yeah, but they had Isaiah Hartenstein on, who is also a fellow New York Knick. Did you know he's mixed?
Yeah, I knew he's black.
You knew that.
Have you not listened? This has been a
I think
he's
a quarter black. Yeah. He's a quarter black. His dad's half black, right?
Yeah, his dad is mixed, and so he's got a. But there's this whole clip.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, he's definitely black.
The genes weren't as strong as they should have been, I guess.
He's either the blackest white dude or the whitest black dude. Which one?
Yeah, well, I saw Pat Bev and Roan on Barstool talking about that. Whatever.
Speaking of Pat Bev, let's get to that for a second.
That's what I was going to bring up.
When are we going to start making, before anybody can talk to us, when are we going to start making them subscribe to the podcast? Like, that's the question.
What a clown ass thing to do. Not only did he he threw a ball at a woman's face,
hit her,
sideline in Indiana, and then threw it right back at the dude who threw it back to him, which he's going to get suspended for, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
He doubled down on it post-game by being some type of sore loser and telling a producer, ESPN producer, who's just doing her job, do you subscribe to my podcast? She's like, no, I don't. Well, you can't interview me then. Like, what the fuck is that?
And made her take her microphone away from his face.
But I'll give her credit. She kept that microphone right up there.
Right up in and said, screw off.
Trying to bully. It felt, I don't know, man. That felt, because he didn't ask anybody else up there about, subscribing to the pod. I thought that was
apparently, according to Milwaukee Reporter, it came out that he had been doing that all year in Milwaukee. Just nobody knew about it because it wasn't on national TV with an ESPN reporter, right?
What a damn clown, though.
So, he won't let people ask him questions unless they're subscribed to the podcast.
I heard Draymond say this, and listen, I'm not saying I like the messenger, but the message on this whole Pat Bev thing, I thought it was perfect. He basically said, Patrick Beverley's the guy who does open runs at the gym, and he has the only ball. Like, he's the guy who brings the ball. But he gets beat twice in the first 2 games, and then he's like, I'm taking my ball and going home. Like, he's that guy. If no one's playing, if I'm not playing, no one's playing. I don't care about anybody else in there. Just goofy, man. And I had to get that out of the way first. Now, 2 teams I want to talk about real quick that are headed home. Then we'll get to the teams that are actually still in this thing, notably the Timberwolves, who are up 1-0 on the Nuggets while we're recording. I want to talk about 76ers and the Clippers. We'll start with the 76ers. What the hell are they going to do this offseason, dude? I mean, we've seen that the Joel Embiid thing, he was great in this series, but Tobias Harris is absolutely awful. He had 0 points in a closeout game. A game that was win or go home. And Tyrese Maxey wasn't any good. He was 6 for 18. I think Joel Embiid catches flack. Some for the right reasons, some for the wrong reasons. Well, the right reasons are he's always hurt, perpetually hurt in the playoffs. I get that. But I heard a lot of people going after him and saying, oh, well, he's never going to be – they put him in that James Harden category. Well, he's never going to be able to win the big one. It's like, I don't know. I mean, he averaged like 38 points a game or like 30 points a game, 32 points per game, 33 points per game in this series. I don't know if he's the fall guy for this. I think the one thing that you could say about him is he was not great in fourth quarters, but I can kind of expect that when he has Bell's palsy, migraines, and a hurt knee. I mean, you're going to wear out by the fourth quarter. He needs to be more healthy, get into camp, not fat. And then I think the 76ers will have a lot more success. But they're going to have to decide what they want to do going forward, man. That's a tricky situation.
Yeah, and you said the 76ers and the Clippers, and same for them. That was with everything that they've got, an aging roster, aging superstars. How do you go about – I mean, do you just keep trying to run it back?
Well, I don't know if you saw the latest news. They lowballed Paul George and didn't offer him a max, which is, to me, the dumbest shit ever because – last offseason, you signed Kawhi to a 3-year, $152 million deal, and he's the one you haven't been able to count on.
Exactly.
Paul George has been there. Like, he's always playing, and he's always trying to put everything on his shoulders in the playoffs. You signed the wrong guy to the max extension, and now you're going to double down on it by not offering Paul George the max? What the hell are we doing here? Yeah. It's just stupid. And you have Paul George or James Harden you have to decide to go forward with. Letting both of them walk would be so dumb, in my opinion. So decide who you want. I think it's pretty clear, though, that the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard thing is, for the most part, run its course. I don't see them winning a title with that iteration of players.
I don't either. I just don't think it's going to happen at this point, whether it's the health of both of them simultaneously or just the quality of the West at this point. I don't necessarily see it happening either.
No.
Can I say a couple things real quick? First off, why is Kenny not on here? Because
I don't know. No idea.
I'm very confused by that.
Yeah.
Does Kenny even know?
Here, he's coming in. Look at him. There he is. Yeah.
Very weird. Also, fellas, question for you. Gabe, you won't remember this, obviously, because you weren't there. But Kenny, do you remember a couple weeks ago when Gabe was out, what you and I did during the Hot 3 for the NBA playoffs?
Shoot. No, I don't remember.
We picked who we thought was going to win every series.
Oh, yeah. Did we get it right?
I was 100%.
Well, of course you were.
There you go.
I should have bet that because that was after game 1 of 3 of the games.
No, that's not surprising.
That is
You're
surprising.
brilliant. You're brilliant.
If I'd have parlayed that, I'd be
brilliant.
now.
You're brilliant.
You're
should
brilliant.
Don't surprise yourself. You're brilliant.
You're brilliant.
No, I'm not the NBA guy. Kenny's the NBA
All right.
guy, but I was pretty.
That's good. Good for you. Good
No,
How
not good
impressed-
for me. Bad for me because I didn't actually bet on it. But yeah, Kenny the only one that Kenny missed was he said the Clips over the Mavs.
I thought the Clips would beat the Mavericks.
Yeah. Well,
Kyrie,
you're
let me ask
hoping
you
on
this.
Kawhi. You were hoping on Kawhi
Right.
playing, and that didn't happen.
How impressed have y'all been with Kyrie Irving?
He's always been awesome.
Yeah.
Like I've always been impressed with Kawhi or with Kyrie. Always. He's one of the most true hoopers in the league today.
It's fair.
Like just bucket getting fool.
Is he not just one of the most like just his ability to dribble and get to the basket and everything he does?
His finishing is so ridiculous.
It really does make me just kind of whoa, like this dude is a savant with the basketball.
Yeah,
like he is
100%.
just in terms of like, I know he's not big, he's not a 6'9" monster like LeBron James, but in terms of just overall skill, he's got to be like
He's
elite
top
of the elite, right?
Like he's top 3 in like overall skill. When you just pound for pound skill on the offensive end, easily top 3. Yeah. I think like a guy like Paul George is probably up there too.
Yeah,
just
Paul
like
George.
Pound for pound, best skill and handles and distributing the ball, scoring, all 3 levels. I think those 2 guys are very underrated in that realm.
This is what I said about. Let me real quick about the Mavs.
Yeah,
I have never liked the Mavs in the playoffs because I feel like they are so over the past few years have been completely contingent on Luka having to have the ball in his hands to be effective. And I feel like this first round series, Luka got his points, but did he not cede over some of that ball control to Kyrie? And
he did because he was hurt a little bit too. His knee was a little slow. But here's the other thing about the Mavs, Kenny, that people are not talking about as much. That supporting cast fits finally, and they have some defensive dudes. That, like they have Derek Jones Jr., PJ Washington, and Daniel Gafford all in that starting lineup. Like those guys can be up, man. Those were great pickups. Daniel Gafford may be the best of all of them, and he's big. You don't expect the 5 to make that type of difference, but he can run the floor like a madman. He can rebound like a madman. Yeah, he finishes really well.
Let me ask you this: does the emergence of Derek Lively, who's a rookie big man,
he was great on defense, by the way, in this series. Awesome on defense.
Does he change the calculus for you in terms of what the Grizzlies should be doing in the draft this year?
Yes, listen. I've said this on my show. If you're worried about Donovan Clingan and he's a rookie, he's not going to make a difference in crucial moments. Look at Derek Lively.
And
then stop. Like rookies, as long as they have vets pouring confidence into them and a coach that knows how to use them, like Jason Kidd clearly knows how to use Derek Lively, they can be very, very productive in crucial moments.
Agree.
And I look at Christian Brown last year for the Nuggets. He flipped some of those games in their playoff run. As long as you have the right coaching and supporting pieces, that rookie can make all the difference in the world. Now,
especially a big rookie like that, a guy who comes in with an automatic physical, levels above certain guys, right? Like in terms of physicality, like that's what Donovan Clingan brings to the table. He's 7'3". Like, what are you going to do with him? Like a guy that can move, a guy who can defend, a guy who's got skills around the basket, who can, set picks and roll, like those kinds of things. He can do those things, and you're seeing it in a guy like Derek Lively. You go, listen, like this to me tells me if you got the chance to get a Klingon, you go get him.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is where's your pick going to be? You know, where's your pick?
Well, that's
be?
right. That's
if you're a
right.
top 2 pick, I don't know if you can talk yourself into it. But if you're like, you know, anywhere from 3 on, maybe you could talk yourself into it. You know what I mean? Like, we'll just see how it all plays out. Now, I do have to the Timberwolves, man.
Jesus,
buddy. I was wondering about them heading into the playoffs because I hadn't seen it. I just hadn't.
we've seen it now.
But between Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert playing really good basketball, like very perfect role-playing basketball, and not being a nuisance at all, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, this team.
Let's not forget Mike Conley.
Yeah, Mike Conley. How about Jaden McDaniels?
Yeah.
This team can make a run and win the NBA Finals this year. I truly believe that. And seeing game 1 against the Nuggets where it's like Anthony Edwards has that just straight up fuck you, and I'm like, I don't care who you are. I will drop 43 in your eye hole and you can't do a damn thing about it. And that one situation, they were down 82-81 late in that game, and he just catches the ball and he has a one-on-one with Aaron Gordon.
Oh,
and he's
my
like,
God.
I'm going to make you – and Aaron Gordon's a decent defender. He goes, I'm going to make you feel like this is a mistake. Even though it's not a big coaching gaffe, not a big mistake, he made it a mistake by just crossing him over, stepping back, getting to a spot in the mid-range, knocking it down. That's why when people do these Michael Jordan comparisons, I'm like, listen, brother, I know he hasn't gotten the accolades. I know he hasn't gotten the championships, but watch how this guy plays.
The eye test tells you all of it.
The footwork, the fuck you attitude. When he wants to lock down on defense, he will point out the best player on the other team and say, give me him. Let's go. Yep. And he goes to work every single game. It's just, he's clearly one of those guys that despises losing more than he likes winning. And that's sort of the Michael Jordan. That's where that stuff comes from, man. He just embodies all of that. And then I'll say this. The rest of the series is going to be interesting because Jokic shot 9 threes in that game. You want to know why? You have Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, and then Kyle Anderson even played good defense on Jokic in that game. You just have so many movable defensive pieces for this Timberwolves team.
Yeah,
that can really bother them.
I really think this Timberwolves Nuggets series could be the series of the playoffs, which we usually don't see this early in the second round. You just don't see that very often. But this series is going to be a lot of fun because, and I know we'll already know the outcome tomorrow. But we're kidding ourselves if we don't think the Nuggets are going to throw a heck of a counterpunch. Like I
think while we're recording, hopefully I'm right on this. I think the Nuggets will win tonight.
The Nuggets will get it tonight. There's no way Minnesota's coming into the defending champions' house and beating them too. Nah.
If they do,
it's over. But let me tell you, I was watching the game, the first game, the game 1, and I was like, Jokic is obviously the most talented basketball player on planet Earth.
Talented is probably not even the best word for that.
He's just the best.
He's just like the most skillful. Not even. It's just
he's just the best.
He's just the best.
But the thing about it, so like Rudy Gobert can't hold a candle to him in any level of basketball, right? Like in any level.
Right.
But what he can do is provide resistance that nobody else can. And and that to me is where that's the turning point. In that first game, I was like, Rudy is standing up to this challenge. Like
that trade doesn't look as stupid right now, even though I still think it's stupid.
Because that trade
we crashed that trade.
But I'll say this: still way too many pieces being given up in that trade for Rudy Gobert. But shit,
if it gets them a ring, bro,
if it works out and you win a championship with it, it was a great trade.
Yeah,
I still will say that was way too much compensation.
I agree. But if you win a championship, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, who cares?
I'm gonna throw something in here real quick, and then we can move on because I know we went kind of long on this. But my one rebuttal to the Rudy Gobert and Jokic stuff is I may not be 100% on this, but I feel like I'm remembering this right. I think early in that series last year against the Lakers, we said there was a very similar sentiment about Anthony Davis and the way that he was guarding Nikola Jokic, and he figured it out very quickly.
Jokic
very quickly.
He has rebuttals. Okay, he will figure it out. But I think this goes without saying, 9 3-point balls. That's not how you're going. That's not what you do, dude.
No,
you can shoot a 3 and you can knock them down with some efficiency sometimes, but that's not how the Nuggets are going to win the series.
That just tells me that Minnesota's defense, their inside the paint presence, got them so completely outside of their game that they had they didn't have any answers in that game. Game one, they will have answers tonight. They will have. Answers
I did point this out on the air, and I think this is what people need to realize about the Timberwolves. Their defense is truly elite.
Yeah,
like it really is. Like
very good.
Like think about their big three defensively. Jaden McDaniels is an all defense guy. Rudy Gobert is a defensive player of the year and will be this year. Yep. And then you have Anthony Edwards who can lock down anybody on the perimeter when he decides to. Like those big three right there in your starting lineup, that's all you really need on the floor at one time from a defensive standpoint.
Yep. All right, Kenny, let's move it on to topic number 2.
All right, topic number 2 is the NFL draft breakdown. And I sent you guys the article. It is behind the paywall on ESPN Plus, but basically ESPN asked, they call it the 2024 NFL Draft Confidential. Basically, they went to, I think, something like 20 different front office personnel, college coaches, assistant coaches, things like that. And they asked different questions like, what were some of the surprises, some of the sleepers, some of the things that maybe surprised you about the draft? And I wanted to get your guys' opinion because we talked about the draft last week. But here's some of the words from college coaches and assistant coaches about specific topics. One of them is obviously the first one, the issue that we had with the entire first round was the Michael Penix Jr. Pick going after the Atlanta Falcons drafting him at number 8 when they literally just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year contract. This is what a power conference coach said. He says, I was surprised. He said, it makes a lot of sense when you think about how hard it is to have a good quarterback flow in your organization. Having that guy ready to roll. The way he threw it his pro day and the way he ran, I felt he was gaining a lot of momentum. I thought someone's going to take him in the first round and probably in the first 15 picks. I just didn't expect Atlanta to be the one. And they came back and said the 2 factors are injury history and the fact that he turns 24. Not because at 24 he couldn't come in and play now, but the fact is they have Kirk Cousins for 4 years. So you're saying you're gonna. They mentioned the Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers situation, how Jordan Love set for, and I think it was 4 years maybe as well, but he came in, but he's 25, right? Yeah. By the time Michael Penix Jr. in 4 years, he'll be 28.
I hate that example.
Do you hate that example? Okay.
I mean, because Michael Penix is who he is right now.
No, that wasn't. No. It wasn't. The point that the author was trying to make wasn't that it's similar to Jordan Love. It's that he understood it with Jordan Love because he was young. And
okay. So he's
Michael Penix is already who he's going to be.
I misunderstood that. No, I will start with the. You said it was a college coach, Power 5 coach.
It's a Power 5 college
flow. The quarterback flow thing. Oh, I understand it because it's hard to get a quarterback flow in the NFL. That's a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry. Like, yes, it's hard to get a quarterback flow, but you know how hard and disruptive this could be to your quarterback flow?
Yeah, especially I'm assuming you saw the news that came out today that the biggest reason that Kirk Cousins decided to leave Minnesota is because they planned on taking a quarterback in the first round.
I saw that. It's like you're disrupting not only for the near future, but like by the end of this contract, Michael Penix may have not started a game. It's like, okay, I get trying to have like good backups and good quarterbacks because quarterbacks get hurt every year, but this is not how you do it. You don't pay one guy $100 million,
180 million,
but $100 million guaranteed, and then draft a guy in the top 10 to pay him that money over a 5-year period. That's not good quarterback flow. It's not money well spent. It's foolish to me. And not only is that, it's just like the flow of that franchise right now is just confusing. Because like you have this win now quarterback theoretically, but you didn't draft anybody in the first round with your most valuable
to help him win now.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I just find that quarterback flow conversation a little bit bullshit. The other stuff I agree with for the most part.
Yeah, I think the basic point of that was that they, like what you guys talked about last week, was that there's a lot of confusion of like, yes, it is good to have quarterback flow, but doing it in the right way, right? Like doing it in the right way, drafting the right guy.
There's only one organization in the NFL that does it the right way, and that's the Green Bay Packers, and that's why they've had a top tier quarterback since 1993.
Yeah, and we debated if they were doing it the right way this time around.
Yeah, they've
Aaron Rodgers didn't like the way they did it when they drafted Jordan Love.
No, but they do it right. Yeah, they've had, and we have a small sample size of Jordan Love, but they've had pretty much elite quarterback play since 1991. That's
pretty damn good.
Ridiculous. They've had 30 plus years of good quarterback play because they're the only team that is willing to take a quarterback early on, even though they already have a Pro Bowl, All-Pro level quarterback, and it continues to pay dividends for them. No one else has really picked up on it outside of maybe a couple of teams trying every once in a while. The Patriots with Jimmy Garoppolo being an example, but it's very rare. The Packers are the only one that have executed it.
And if the Falcons are trying to do that, you're not doing it right, guys.
It's not the right way.
It's not how you do it. You would trade up for, if you're trying to do that, you'd trade for Drake May. You know, right. A 21-year-old that you can let cook behind Kirk.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're just already a good team and you have a later pick and you get more of a developmental prospect at quarterback, not someone who kind of just is what they're going to be.
Right. What else we got there on there?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and I thought this was pretty interesting, a conversation. The coaches also noticed, and I'm reading this directly from the article, they said coaches also noted the early push for offensive linemen, especially tackles. 9 offensive linemen went in the first round, including 6 in the top 20 selections. They go through and they name a few of them. And this coach added, the coach added that if he could take one 5-star recruit at any position, he would choose an offensive tackle. Do you guys agree with that?
Were they talking to Jim Harbaugh?
I don't know.
I mean, I'll put it out there, and I want Christian to hammer this home too. Like, if you talk to anybody in the NFL, if you have a quarterback, that's all well and good, but you have to protect that quarterback before you get them weapons. So, like with the Chargers pick, for example, getting Joe Alt, as much as I think that, you could have got Malik Neighbors or a really good wide receiver there, getting a guy like Joe Alt, who will probably be a 12 to 15-year player with all-pro upside, that makes a lot of sense considering he can stick there for a while. You don't have to pay him a whole lot because of his positional value necessarily, because he'll probably be playing right tackle. It just makes sense to protect the quarterback before you go get him shiny new toys.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment because – and I'll stick with the Chargers as an example because I think they're like a perfect case study for this. You have so many people that are confused or kind of just like whatever that they didn't get Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze with that top 5 pick and instead went Joe Alt. And this just shows you how much people can't see the forest for the trees. They had Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson. Yeah. They've had all these shiny toys. They've had all these pieces, and Justin Herbert has 0 playoff wins in his career
because he has 0 protection.
That and just Brandon Staley was a mess too, but overall. But he had Rashawn Slater, and outside of that, it's been kind of iffy. Now you've got Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. You literally have 2 guys that are going to more than likely be all-pro caliber players for at least the next decade. And everything else kind of falls into place after that. And you see, even after that, they get Ladd McConkey in the 2nd round. I don't know about you, Gabe, but that seems like a very friendly pick.
They got Brendan Rice in the 6th round, man.
7th round.
And the more I sat there for the 1st round, like, damn, I wish they would have got Malik Neighbors. But then I sat there a little longer, and I'm like, to find a tackle of Joe Alt's caliber outside of the 1st round is a lot harder than finding a wide receiver that has high potential, outside of the 1st round. You think of some of the best wide receivers in the league. Devontae Adams, not a 1st round pick. Puka Nacua last year, 5th round pick. Like, you just keep going up and down. Keenan Allen was not a high pick. He was like a 3rd round pick.
3rd round, yeah.
You just keep going through some of these wide receivers, and you can find some really good value on days 2 and 3. So the more I sat on it, the more it made sense.
Yeah.
So one of the things that this coach kept saying, he said, whether they're going to bust or not, you have to have the physical tools to be an elite tackle. He said the Joe Alts, the Lathams, the Fashunus. Is that how you say his name? Fashanu.
And then Falcao.
Will they pan out? Who knows? He goes, but this is all a quote. He says, but you can be an edge rusher at a lot of different heights, weight, sizes, arm lengths. Same thing with quarterbacks. You can just be a winner. At tackle, if you don't have those physical traits that are rare, it's very hard. And he said, basically that guys will like, and I want to see if you guys agree with this. He said organizations will literally draft somebody just because of their size, because they feel like that if they're long and athletic, they can coach the rest. And he mentioned Tyler Guyton as the perfect example of that. The quote is he never played at
sometimes for those though too. To be fair.
He said he never played at TCU. He was not an every down player at Oklahoma last year, and he's drafted in the first round. That's because he's long. It is really crazy. But
no, it's true.
Is that true? I mean,
it's true, but they don't. Those developmental guys don't always work out. And usually, they'll be the 6'8", 320-pound guys that run a 4.8 and just wow people at the combine. And I remember a couple of guys by name. One would be Colton Miller from the Raiders.
Colton Miller's decent.
I thought he was really bad at UCLA, though. Like, his film was terrible. He didn't know how to kick that.
15th overall, I believe.
15th overall, but he gets in with the Raiders. Starter, second contract, bow. Nate Solder way back in the day. I remember watching him in Colorado. He was one of the worst tackles I've ever seen because he transitioned from tight end to play tackle. But they draft him really early. He became an all-pro for the Patriots. So as long as you're a super athlete that they feel like your best ball could be in front of you, they will try to develop you. And they have in my opinion, they have a little bit too much foolish pride that they can get that out of you at times.
That's fair, but almost like in this day and age, and what this article is talking about, and what this coach is talking about, is if you don't have those elite traits, if you don't have that size, you're not going to be good. So why waste the pick on someone who was really productive at the collegiate level, but doesn't
have those physical characteristics.
If it doesn't have that, and why not take a toolsy player that you can at least develop? Because you pretty much know if you've got a squatty offensive tackle, even if he was incredible collegially, he's either not going to be a tackle at the NFL and he's going to play guard, or he's not going to be good.
I agree with you. Ultimately. There are examples of guys that don't necessarily have the perfect tools, but they have just enough. Like Rashawn Slater for the Chargers, who we just got done talking about. Not that big. Not that long, but he's fucking good. He's really good at what he does. But those are fewer and far in between than the guys with just crazy attributes. And I agree with that.
And another perfect example, and then we can move on to the Tom Brady roast, is Jordan Mailata. Talk about a toolsy guy with nothing but upside and no experience. This was a rugby player. Rugby player who's a Pro Bowl tackle now, who just signed a huge contract because he has all those tools.
Is he the highest paid tackle now? No.
He's up there, but I don't think he's the highest.
He's close.
Yeah, but that's another one of those examples of a guy who literally had no playing experience, did not play college football. He played rugby, but he's 6'8". He's huge. He's got long arms.
Ran a 4.8. You're like, I'll take a flyer. Why not?
And he's a Pro Bowl tackle.
Yep. Let me teach him. He'll probably figure it out.
Yep.
All right, third topic, the Tom Brady roast. Let's get to this, man. I watched it this morning. Gabe watched it. Christian will watch it. I've sent some clips to them to show them a little bit about to Christian especially. There were some storylines that came out in this that I thought were outside of the hilarity of the roasts. Like, I think the biggest overall storyline is that Tom Brady, how often do you get to roast the greatest of all time in a specific sport, right? Like, it's especially one that's a freaking robot. Like, this dude, like Tom Brady is a robot. This dude is like perfectly chiseled. Clearly, if he hasn't had plastic surgery done, then he is genetically the most gifted.
He's had some work done. It may not.
Has to have, right? You don't get cheap
Botox or
something at 47 years old, right? But so it was wild. Like, I kind of went into it going, okay, what is this going to look like? Like, what are they going to say? Obviously, the Giselle stuff was massive. Like, calling him gay, calling him all this kind of stuff. It was all a big part of the whole storyline. But there were a few things that came out, especially when the New England Patriots guys actually roasted. I didn't know how deep the hatred between Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady was. Let me show you a clip real quick of just getting them in the same room. Kevin Hart had this little moment with those guys. Let me bring this up real quick.
Isn't just about Tom Brady's dream.
Wrong one. Hold on. Here we go.
It's low.
I just feel like, man, yeah. Robert wants to do it. Bill, let's make the uncomfortable uncomfortable, right?
He's drunk.
Poor
Make the
Bill is
uncomfortable
shy.
uncomfortable.
Robert's here.
It's already uncomfortable.
I want to say this is the greatest coach in the history of the game that did what no one else has done. And having Tom Brady and him was the greatest honor the good Lord gave me. So, cheers.
All right, so clearly
I don't see a lot of hate there, Kenny. I'm gonna be honest with you.
but it was clear like you didn't see Bill Belichick's face. That man had wanted no part of that
A little
until
uncomfortable, but
Kevin made it very apparent, like, hey, let's do this, right?
Bobby was soused. Right.
Yeah, he was sauced for sure.
Oh, Robert Crafty was
Yeah, but
livid.
Bill B always has that look on his face. To be completely honest,
Very fair.
I just didn't know that it ended so badly there. Like
well,
for all
but,
three,
I mean, Robert Kraft is not hidden. Like, he's told the media how hard it was to work with Bill Belichick over the years. Like, he has not hidden those things. But at the end of the day, he won a bunch of he won 6 Super Bowls for him. So hell, if it's hard to work with you, but you're giving me results, hey,
that's all that matters,
got
right?
some respect for you. But man, the whole thing was cool. Play this Tom Segura, and I want to hear this clip.
I know both of y'all are Tommy Buns fans, y'all and Burt Kreischer fans, but that just noticed, like, I think it's so funny how they handled this. This was meant to be awkward and kind of goofy. So,
in this country.
No, it isn't. Tonight is about celebrating everything Tom Brady stands for.
He is so good looking.
Oh, he's fucking gorgeous.
Look at this fucking picture.
Fucking who takes this picture? Was he pregnant?
all right, here comes another one.
Be our first goat to be roasted because you're an example to future generations that if you work hard, eat right, film the other team's practices, deflate the balls, have the NFL make new rules just for you, then you too can be the third most famous guy in a Dunkin' Donuts commercial. USA! USA!
I mean, come on, right?
Dude, did y'all notice the Jeff Ross thing when he talked about Bob Kraft and the happy ending massage? Did you see Tom? He's like, don't say that shit again. I don't know what that was about. I think he was dead serious, though. Do not say that shit again.
Nikki Glazer, who was by far the best comedian.
Well,
on
Tony
the dais.
Hinchcliffe did his thing real quick, too.
Okay.
But I like
crazy.
Nikki Glazer the most, too.
Nikki had some Rob Gronkowski stuff that was pretty phenomenal.
Oh, my God. Phenomenal.
Me. You all right, Christian?
You good, dude?
I just thought it was hilarious. But
sorry, that water
almost
went
died.
down the wrong way. I jumped on the mute quick.
Yeah.
He almost died. Christian almost died.
Okay.
But no, even the whole, like, what was funny about it, so Tom, like, roast work, Tom got a chance to get up there at the end and say talk his shit back. And one of the things that he said that I thought was so interesting was he finally admitted that he knew for a fact that the New England Patriots were deflating the balls.
Well, he knew for a fact that he did it. He said, I could have told you. He said they wasted $20 million. The NFL wasted $20 million to find to do an investigation that said I probably knew that the balls were being deflated. He goes, I could have taken the $20 million and told you I fucking did it. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course Tom Brady knew that. We knew that the whole time. Some people are taking that as like a, full-on admission. It's like I've known that for a long time.
Right.
Like, of course,
But he's never said it.
Of
He's
course,
never
the
admitted
quarterback. He's never said it, but it's like also Deflategate's the biggest piece of garbage nonsense ever. Spygate's the one you should be focused on.
Yeah,
they freaking filmed Rams practices and got their calls in 2001 or whatever it was.
Right.
Like that should be the one. Deflategate, they beat the Colts within an inch of their life anyway. It was 45-0. That's what we're talking about. Like Deflategate was always the biggest sham ever. It was so dumb.
What did you think, Gabe? I know you got a chance to see it, but like, what were your impressions of Tom, of the Patriots that were actually there on the stage? It was pretty interesting stuff, wasn't it?
Can I be honest? All of the Patriots players using the Aaron Hernandez suicide jokes, that threw me for a loop, brother.
It threw me for a loop too.
I didn't expect them to do that because I figured that would be like still pretty hard for them to digest. Like that is a hard thing for them to understand. Still.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. I can't believe they went there.
That's what I'm saying, Chris. You got to watch it. Like Julian Edelman.
He went there.
His Aaron Hernandez joke was the most cringy of the night. But the one thing I did like about it is it felt like some healing for the comedy world in a way, because everybody's just getting away with whatever the fuck they wanted to say. They just got away with it. No one argued. No one gave a shit. They're just like, go ahead, say what you want to say. And I like that part of it because I think we've swung so far in one way where Bill Burr's taking hit pieces and Dave Chappelle's taking hit pieces because he makes jokes. And I think we're swinging back in the other direction to a certain extent. I really do. And I'm not trying to be like the big bro comic guy, but I know I'm coming across that way.
No, it was definitely there. It was pretty shocking, some of the things that were said. And obviously there's heat coming off that. To me it was the New England Patriots players that you could tell they were just there was a level of like, I mean, even
some of the Gronk couldn't take some of the Gronk jokes. You could tell.
Well,
Gronk
even
they
said something like, they kept bringing up things that Belichick would say in practice, like the Foxborough High School team could do this, run the play again, and I can't remember who it was, said, bro, Foxborough High School is the only team that wants you to coach
Gronk.
Right now.
I think that was Gronk. I think that was Gronk. No, okay, but I will say this: Drew Bledsoe was really good of the players. All the comedians were pretty good. Of the players, Drew Bledsoe was the best, by far the worst of the night. Not even close. And I still think he's the best wide receiver of all time.
Randy was terrible.
Randy Moss was horrible.
Terrible.
I don't even think he gets what a roast is. I think he probably thought a roast was like, we're praising Tom Brady tonight.
He begged Tom Brady to give him one of his Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, it was so weird, Christian. Like, if you go back and watch his roast, it's like, we could have done without that. That was terrible.
Andrew Schultz called him Bagger Vance, and he said you dressed like Bagger Vance up here. Like, what the hell?
And somebody needs to, bruh. I'll say this: Andrew Schultz needs someone to blend him up. This is the final thing I'll say. Someone blend that dude's hair up. Yeah. His haircut sucks.
It's bad.
It's terrible. Like, blend it. What are we doing?
It looks like the bad guy from Like Mike. I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah, he does. But like, it's crisp. But it's like, just give it a fade. Just get somebody in there to fade that in. It'll look great.
All right. Well, boys, let's wrap it up. I guess I need to go spend the next 3 hours watching this roast. I don't know how I can devote that much time to it, but I'll figure it out here at some point. We appreciate you guys for joining us this week. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment there. If you're listening wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else, you can do all the same things there. Head over to bluffcitymedia.co. Check out all the content we got there, whether it's articles, podcasts, or videos. We've got you covered. So we appreciate you once again for joining us this week, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.